Oh, hey there. Nice to see you again. I'm Tyler, and I make art and things. And it's a brand new year. Isn't that exciting? It's great to be back. I had a great break. I tried to do as little as possible, and that was nice. So, trying to kind of get the gears turning again here, re-oil the machine, get all the cogs spinning, and whatever sort of metaphors you want to use, and get some art going again. And I want to get back to this guy because we were so close to getting the sculpt done, and yeah, just I've been wanting to get back in here and do this, so I'm excited to jump in here. But yeah, thanks for joining me. And if you're new here, I do streams every week, or at least every week that I can find time to. That's always my goal, and occasionally I do some art product reviews as well over on the pre-recorded side of the channel. So check that out. And I've also got a free drawing guide. If you want to scope that out, just go over to the community section on YouTube, and there's a link in a post over there. And let me know if you like it. Otherwise, let's jump in here and work on this guy, which is my Magic the Gathering Lord of the Pit tribute sculpt, inspired by the original piece by Mark Tedden, the legend. We were done with the body, and we were working on the wings. I was starting to detail all of the inner elements here, all of these fun little, I don't know what you'd call these, little organic, weird bits. So, and that's kind of where we're at with it. I have to just quickly refresh my brain on exactly where we were. It looks like I was maybe kind of around here, and we were starting to work on some of this stuff. So yeah, let's first of all, I guess we should make sure that we have X symmetry turned on, because sometimes that gets weird. Okay, we're good. And does my mic seem like it's a little bit low? I kind of, on my meters, it looks like it's a little low. Let me see if I can boost my mic just a little bit here. How's that? That's probably a little bit better, huh? Okay, let's go with that. And you step away for a few weeks, and then technology wants to kind of just do its own thing on you. Okay, I've got pressure sensitivity working. Turn down the intensity here. Well, too much. Okay, I got to get into the rhythm again. Now, funny enough, I said I didn't do anything during the break, but I did do a little bit of just kind of random personal art stuff, but you know, a zero pressure kind of situation where I was kind of experimenting and trying things. And one of the things that I've been trying to figure out is, so when I do illustrations that include things that are very technical, like guns, for example, I like to create a base mesh of the gun in 3D first, just to kind of explore the major volumes, and then pose it, and then I'll, screenshot it, bring it into Photoshop, and then I'll, of course, detail it out. And usually I change a fair amount of things, but it gives me a base, and I just like being able to visualize it and rotate it in space. But when you're doing that kind of thing, you want the software to kind of facilitate that creative flow. And one of the things when you're working on something like a gun is that it is likely symmetrical along one axis, and your process is likely going to be both additive and subtractive, right? Hey, Zane. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to be back. I was just talking about, using 3D to help you block in, like, technical things in your images, like guns and stuff. And when I work on that kind of thing, I'm usually cobbling together both positive volumes, but also I want to work with negative volumes, cutting things out, which if you're familiar with 3D, you'll know that as typically called a Boolean. And am I getting the same kind of quality I had up here? I feel like maybe these are a little too thin. I got to make sure I'm capturing what I did before the break. So, in an ideal world, you'd want live mirroring of a collection of objects. And you'd also want to be working both additively and subtractively and try to be sort of unencumbered by the software and just kind of work freely. Yeah, and that all sounds very simple, right? You'd think that, okay, well, that's not really asking for much. That sounds like what most people would do with 3D software. But I will tell you, that particular list that I just gave you, in combination with each other, is something that I have found to be very difficult to find executed well in any software. And here's some of them that I've tried. I've tried Blender. I've tried ZBrush, and I've even tried Houdini. And there's always something about it, however it's executed, there's something that I just don't like. So for the moment, I'm using Blender. I found Blender to be the closest I can get to what I'd want. But, and within Blender even, I've tried to do like a really fancy setup with geometry nodes, because the way they're kind of going these days with the software, a lot of the more complex procedural stuff is done through geometry nodes. And I went in a like a Blender suggestion forum. Apparently it's some official forum where Blender developers go to look for what people are after and what they want improved. And I posted in there, and it was based on this workflow I'm telling you I like to try and do, and some of the shortcomings I noticed. And I said in there, well, I'd like to be able to put modifiers on collections. Particularly, I'd like to be able to add the mirror modifier to a collection with, of course, that really nice clipping plane option. And then I'd love to be able to apply the Boolean modifier to a collection as well. And so the idea there would be, you'd be modeling all of your additive parts in one collection that would have the mirror modifier on it. And then you'd have another collection that would have the Boolean operation on it that would be saying, or actually, I guess it'd be on that first collection, but then you'd point to a second collection as what you'd like it to be, removing, right? You'd be looking at all of those shapes in that second collection to Boolean them. And some of that is achievable with geometry nodes, but it's clunky, and the Boolean of multiple things gets really visually janky very quickly. And I realize that Booleaning things is not the easiest thing to execute. Kind of the under the hood calculation is really, it's easy to kind of trivialize it, but it's actually really hard to have it evaluate everything correctly. So it causes things to get really messy looking. And so my suggestion was just, hey, instead of trying to do this complicated geometry node thing, can I just get at least collections to allow some subset of modifiers applied? And I posted that in there, and I got one response from some guy who said, dude, just do it with geometry nodes. And so, it's I think one of the things that can be tricky about working with software engineers is that they're thinking like engineers and not artists. So their solutions are always very sort of engineer friendly. It's one of the reasons that I don't like Unity, for example, is that Unity is very much an engineer's sort of piece of software versus Unreal that's very much art friendly, and engineers don't like Unreal. Partly because Unreal, the code languages that it uses are not as friendly. You can't, and I don't know that I know all of the latest technical details of the latest Unreal, but last I looked into it, it was not capable of porting to different platforms, which is one of the big things that Unity has going for it. You can like create a project and then port it to something like Android and iOS and PC and Mac, and it's friendlier in that way. So I get it, but for art, it's like you start doing anything a little bit complicated in Unity, and it's like you need to start writing some code now. Break out your code skills. It's like, what the? Get out of here with that. So, talking to Blender gurus and devs, and they're like, that problem is solved with complex node networks. It's like, guys, it's not. It's like saying, oh, like I need a tractor. A tractor would really help me to, perform my daily farming duties. And then someone says, well, why don't you just build your own tractor, right? It's like you completely missed the point. I'll get back to you in 5 years after I learn how to build my own tractor, right? And then might as well be in a different business. I'd be in the tractor building business. So anyway, that's the end of my rant about some of the limitations of Blender and my frustrations with that. You haven't tried Unreal yet. You've been messing around with, is it Godot? Is the T silent? I've never heard of that. Is that another engine? Kind of shows you how, like, I guess in the dark I've been about some of the modern engine stuff going on. This might be getting a little too. Let me see. I guess that's feeling like it's in the style of the. Let's try to zoom out here and see if I'm getting the right character to these shapes. It's easy to kind of like go into autopilot when you're working on this kind of repetitive detail, and then you start to make things look too patterned, right? Like too mechanical. I don't want to get into that zone with this, so we'll see what we can do to avoid that. Okay, it's bigger with indie devs. That's cool. I'll have to check that out. Is it newer? I'm assuming that hasn't been around a long time. And then the next question I have for you is it more artist friendly or more engineer friendly, or do you not know, or is it sort of an even sort of thing? Does it feel like it maybe doesn't really favor one or the other? Because I'm okay with that too. If something's kind of an even playing field, then at least it's trying on all fronts, which is, I think, admirable. Which, by the way, if we can carve through this wing stuff here, then we can get to some exciting micro textures, which is the last step of this entire sculpture before we move into Substance Painter. And it's the moment we've been all waiting for. Hey, Tom. Hey, good to see you, man. Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. We're just trying to dust off all the rust over here and get cranking again. It's fairly new, 3 years since it was built. Pretty artist friendly, but you might be biased. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, we're in the same camp, so I like hearing that. Okay, whoops. Where are we at here? I'm going cross-eyed looking at all this wing detail here. And some people would say, well, why don't you just create like an alpha and just drag stuff? And it's like, well, that's not any fun. I guess some people don't think this is fun. I like this stuff. It's a little tedious, but I like getting in here and like finding all these weird places to have some fun details. I mean, you're just not going to get that kind of result unless you get in here and you kind of give it that, that custom handcrafted approach. I'm going to start putting in some of these little sort of dotted bits here because I think that's really cool. It looks very kind of Giger, and there's just a little bit of, I get a hint of Giger from Mark Tedden's illustration. I wonder if it's a super out there sort of idea, but I wonder if I could email him like after I finish this whole thing and email him and just be like, would you be interested in an interview on YouTube or be like a guest, on the live stream or something for 15 or 20 minutes to just talk a little bit about, the original Lord of the Pit illustration? Because I have questions for him. I'd be curious to know some of his inspiration and just a little bit of the stories behind it. And that'd be a super fun, like, a super fun thing to kind of like complement all of this work we've been doing as a tribute to his image, right? His design. And then he could tell us if he thinks our our sculpture is crappy or not. Hopefully, I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't be mean, but hopefully he would be genuinely liking it. I can hope that would be the case. Yeah, I know. I like interviews too, especially if you can get some really interesting folks. I just don't know really anything about him, and I don't know that I've ever seen him. I don't know that I've looked, but I don't know that I've ever really seen him do like any kind of public interviews or anything like that. So he might be one of those people that's kind of off the grid, intentionally off the grid. But maybe we could kind of like get him to come out of his secret bunker of art to talk to us for a couple minutes. I should mention, I guess, Tom. Apparently, yeah, there's been a delay on the beginner course updates, but they're slated to be done this week. So I'm hoping that next week we'll be able to kind of start to actually get students into that stuff. The holidays kind of snuck up on everybody and just kind of like delayed everything. So, but we're not too far behind on it. So that's exciting. Man, I've got this like rogue little bit of unrefined clay brush up there. I know why it's there though. We were adding this kind of strand, which these cross strands might be something that I even kind of come in and exaggerate a little bit. But Sure, let's do that. So, Zane, was it? Were you the one that was doing the? Was it May? You were doing like a May art. I think you had posted something. I think that was you, right? Hopefully, I was right. Did I get all this up here? I guess so. Although I feel like maybe we want some stretchy bits, like some kind of wrinkly bits up here, maybe. Maybe just kind of. I don't want the end to feel like, kind of forgotten or neglected. Yeah. Okay. That's your. Yeah. That's cool, man. I don't play Overwatch, but I play Heroes of the Storm, so I'm familiar with her from that game. And no, it's not because I worked on it. I just genuinely like the game. But yeah, I never got to do any May related stuff for it though. I'm trying to remember when she came into the game. I think she was. I mean, she was a little later, but she wasn't super late. It's been so long I can't even remember like the order of when heroes were added to that product. I just know that like Deathwing was I think the last one. Or Hogger. No, sorry. It was Deathwing and then I think it was Hogger was the last one. You miss Overwatch. They weren't they supposed to do some update, some big update or something, and then they didn't do it after all, or I think I kind of lost track of the updates on that product. I like that like strandy bit there, but it feels a little unresolved. Let's do this. Whoops. Mm. This shader I'm using is like pretty heavy cavity, so like I'm able to see it's kind of exaggerating the details, but it also is giving me super good clarity on whether these forms are resolving into each other well or not. Because if I were to switch this to like let's say like this one here, you'll see that like you the mesh looks really clean because on the cavity version, like we're tuning it to the cavity version, and then when the cavity goes away, you don't even really notice any of the like tiny little issues here and there. So that's kind of one of the reasons I like to go with like a high clarity material. But the downside is you got to be careful because it means that the details may not be as loud as you think they are. But you can, there's some global stuff you can do to kind of like push everything a little bit deeper if you need to. There's a under deformation here, which is all of your kind of global sliders for, I guess you guys can't see this. Well, it's over on the right hand side. There's a under tool deformation. You open that up. There's a bunch of sliders that kind of globally affect the mesh, and one of them is contrast. So if you slide that, it kind of just like intensifies everything. You got to be careful with them, but I think there are definitely some useful things in there. One of the ones, which I guess maybe we even did that on the stream, was after you switch from a Dynamesh to a traditional topology. The Dynamesh can when you do the transfer, when you do the projection, you sometimes you're going to end up projecting some of the kind of crunchy polygon stuff from the Dynamesh, and you can do like a global polish on the model in deformations, and that can kind of take the edge off a little bit of that crunchiness. So that can be good. I don't know that we did that on stream or not, but that's like a good example of when you can make use of some of those like global deformer type options. You lost track yourself. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I mean, it's just hard to keep up. There's so many things kind of fighting for our attention. And then at the same time, we're trying to like, level up our art skills and stuff, which is a full-time situation a lot of the time. Are you working on anything right now? Let's see if I'm happy with that edge there. Yeah, maybe I want to kind of, let's go with some clay buildup here. I want to kind of pull maybe another little bit out like this. Set. Oh, that diagonal's a little weird. Let's try again. Let's go a little more like this. Yeah, there we go. Trying again, just kind of have a few things hit more of the edge up here, so it feels more designed. But I got to be careful because we're not really doing anything on this backside. We're not really doing the same treatment to the backside. So if we do something really loud that kind of cuts through the silhouette or affects the silhouette at the edge, then it's going to be weird that we don't follow through on this side. So I have to be a little bit subtle about it, but I kind of like what we've got there. I feel like that's a good striking a balance. So I think we'll just maybe imply that these strands kind of continue a little bit up, and then they kind of vanish in this sort of fleshy edge of the wing here. Actually, let's see what the regular polish brush would do here. Is that, no, I don't really like that. It's a little bit of like low res mesh stuff happening there. I gotta clean that up. It's already looking better though. You wanted to get back into ZBrush and Blender, but you've also been in the market for a monitor for your workflow. Watching a lot of Tested by Adam Savage. Yeah, man, that's a great channel. I watch that channel all the time. There's a nice mix of things. You know, he's got like tech stuff, he's got like crafting stuff, there's some like historical stuff. It's a nice mix. But it all feels like informative and like inspirational, which is super cool. It'd be cool to like meet that guy one day. He goes to cons and stuff, but I think he kind of like tries to be incognito. So I guess it's a little hard to. You got to be in the know. But I watch his channel enough, so I guess I would probably be able to spot him. But he has booths and stuff too, I think, so. I kind of wish that his old TV partner Jamie Heineman did stuff on the internet. After the show, after MythBusters, he kind of just disappeared, and he was a real character. But I think he probably just he didn't seem like he was really into the whole TV spotlight sort of vibe. He's more just a true craftsman, less of an entertainer, and I respect that. But yeah, he's a cool guy too. Yeah, exactly. I remember he did one where he cosplayed as the um, the twins from Matrix Reloaded, and the other twin was Alton Brown from the Food Network. This is a very fun little crossover moment there. But I know he's done some other ones too. I think that's kind of just his jam. He kind of likes going to cons and stuff. I had a girlfriend back in the day that was like really into the cosplay scene. Like she won awards and did she was paid to like build full suits and be on site for events and stuff in certain characters and whatnot. And I was like, I was like there for all of that during the building process and going there with her. It was a lot of fun. But it's like it's really intense. All the work that goes into it, all the knowledge of the materials, and just the kind of like endurance of putting it on and wearing it. It's honestly just like a crazy amount of effort that goes into that stuff. Okay, yeah, we're making some good progress here. This is great. I'm curious to see exactly what we need to do on the backside here because I actually generally like what's going on already. I think it just maybe just a little bit of like refinement, maybe just checking for any kind of low resolution graininess. But I think that backside will be a lot faster than what we have to do on this side here. Yeah, no, it is. Especially like when they're trying to do characters that are, wildly stylized proportions. Like maybe they're super tall, or maybe they're like their body is, you know, part animal or demon or something, right? And they got to like have all these crazy prosthetics. I mean, it just gets really, really intense. And then there's all the tech, like, does it have parts that glow? Are there weapons that need to like seem functional? Okay, I think that area looks pretty good over there in general. I think we can maybe move up to some of these parts over here, more on the inner region. Yeah, the robotics and stuff. I've dabbled a little bit in that. I've never done cosplay fully, but I've dabbled in, like messing with some simple electronics and LEDs and stuff like that, and it's actually pretty fun. What you can do these days with like little Arduinos and battery packs, and I mean it just there's this feels like the sky's the limit. I still get confused about the whole like wiring things in series versus parallel thing because I'm a complete noob. I never did like electrical engineering or anything, and I've probably had it explained to me like 20 times, and I still get confused about it. So it just shows what a noob I am. But I know how to solder, so I know just enough to be dangerous. Used to work with a guy who was all about that. He knew all about how to do everything, and it was pretty impressive. I remember he had a product for a beer holster for your belt. He would sell them at art markets. Oh wow, crazy! Yeah, yeah. There's some people that get really into that stuff. I'm on a Reddit thread called Cyberdex because I'm like a complete nerd, and it's all about people who make like kind of like handheld computers in a sort of a retro futuristic, well, kind of a cyberpunk sort of style. And so most of it's like pretty kind of hand built stuff. I mean, they cobble parts from existing electronics a lot of times, but then they're kind of, constructing the frames and things and 3D printing them and figuring out how it all connects together and the software and stuff. I mean, it's really cool. That's a little beyond what I would feel comfortable trying to do myself, but it's fun. It's fun to look at. I guess I should probably isolate the subtool for a moment so I can get in here and get some of this final wing detail handled. Even though maybe you won't see this stuff too much, it still will make me feel better to know that it's been considered. I built it with these wing pieces separate because not only does it make it easier to sculpt, but also I think if this were to be like a 3D print or something, I think you'd probably want to have these wings be a separate piece that you could detach. And you'd have to build in like, you'd have to have some sockets and stuff built in to facilitate that. But the first step is just figuring out how the pieces are going to be separated. Okay, is that... I guess I can kind of get in here and we noodle this a little bit more. All right, let's turn this back on. Okay, yep. Now for the back. Okay, what are we doing with this stuff here? Do I want to go any higher fidelity? It may just be that we want only sort of high frequency detail back here, like a little bit of, like kind of like a bat skin sort of a thing going on. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So we may not even do any sculpting. I'm just kind of looking for any areas that feel kind of crunchy and low res. Like this. Like this area here feels like it could be a little bit more detailed. I'm trying to kind of be accommodating of all angles and all shots, making it look decent from wherever it's seen. But I think in a more realistic setting, you'd try to know ahead of time where is that camera going to be pointed, and is there a shot of like his foot stepping in the mud or something, and then it's like, well, you got to make sure that foot looks really killer in high res. Obviously, the head, that's like always something that needs to be probably really gnarly. But yeah, I think that I'm not really seeing. I guess there maybe it's a little crunchy in here. Here, let's get in here and let's kind of help some of this out in this section. Maybe I'll go down a res or two and smooth this just a bit. Okay. Just get a little cleaner. This stuff here. Like it's sort of soft looking because of the resolution, but I actually kind of like it because it makes it feel like there's like a membranous skin kind of laying over all the bones. Whereas if I go really crisp with it, it's gonna kind of feel more like it's like the bone is sitting on top of the skin, and I don't want that feel. So I'm kind of okay with some of this softness, interestingly enough. But I do think some high frequency detail will help it feel a little more kind of intentional. I'm just going to get in here and kind of carve this a little bit more. And then okay. Cool. Let's save this. And then I'm going to lose pressure sensitivity, so we'll have to minimize and maximize. And we're back. Okay. High frequency detail. Here we go. Now, what we have to first figure out is let's switch to the body. I have to figure out if I need to up-res or not. I have a feeling we're going to have to go one subdivision higher, which makes me a little nervous. Where are we at with polygon counts here? Starting to kind of maybe get a little bit dangerous. What is this at? Oh, we're at, well, what is that? This is at 9 million, I think. Is that what that says? 80,000. Yeah, we're at 9 million or 908. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're at 9 million on the body here. So we'd be at 36 million if I subdivide this again. Oh my goodness. It's a good thing I saved, because I don't know if we're going to be able to survive another subdivision. But yeah, I guess we can test to see maybe we can get the high frequency detail I want with this subdivision. I have my doubts, but anyway, regardless, I want to be doing this on a layer. So let's add a layer. Okay, we're on a layer. We're recording. And I actually don't really know. There's going to be some experimentation here to just see, like what kind of detail we actually want. Okay, interesting. Okay, so that's got kind of like a weird, it's called membrane. I don't know, I have a bunch of brushes in here. I'm just going to kind of start playing with some of this stuff and see. Whoa, okay, that's pretty bizarre looking. That's a little too much, I think. Okay, let's see. If we turn down the intensity on this, kind of deforms, it kind of makes, it kind of inflates the surface a little bit, which I don't like. So maybe not that one. What about this one? Whoa, that one's really, ew, that's grody. Ew, man, if you got trypophobia, this is like a real problem, isn't it? It's kind of cool though, I have to admit. Like there's something really kind of nasty and gnarly about it. Like it definitely. What if we go smaller with it? Let's see. It kind of gives me, yeah, it's like it's kind of creating some of that random kind of chaos that I'm looking for. So I think these smoother surfaces probably want like a pebbly sort of texture. Not this. This is too crazy. But I think that some of these little cavity areas can benefit from some of this like extra detail and chaos. You know, like if I kind of come in here and I just kind of go crazy with it, we just get a little bit more information. Kind of breaks it up a little bit. Yeah, see, it's kind of giving me like some really fun little organic bits. Without destroying the character of the sculpt too much. So I'm not looking to destroy all the character of some of these nicely finessed like flows, you know, like I kind of spent some time trying to design these. So I don't want to scramble all of it. But I also want to make this thing look organic and not mechanical. So I think that's kind of what I'm hoping to achieve with some of this extra mangling. I guess what's the name of this brush? This is Membrane Builder Strong. Okay. I'll make a note of that so I know to go back to this. But yeah, this also feels like it's in the spirit of the original illustration. Like some of these weird little kind of holes and things like that are kind of very much in that shape language of the original illustration. But we don't want to do it like here, right? Like this is going to look really. Actually, that's kind of cool looking. Ooh. Oh, maybe I'll leave a little bit there just on that first bit. Okay, well, again, we're experimenting, so maybe it works in some areas where I didn't think it would work. Yeah, I guess there's some of these little areas where I was already sort of doing a little bit of this implied. So I think, if it kind of is in, if it's following that rhythm we had, then I think it works. Like that kind of follows that rhythm we had there. So yeah, like part of what you're navigating here is the contrast of detail versus simplicity, and if you don't have both, then of course it just looks busy and ridiculous. So trying to kind of manage that. Okay, that feels a little too distracting. I'm going to kind of soften that up a little bit. I wonder if this is worth doing on the tail at all. Let's see here. Oh, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Maybe we do it. Okay, yeah. Let's hide the wings so I can see what I'm doing. And then, yeah, I like it right in this kind of in-between area. Oh, that looks really crazy. kind of keep it subtle, though. I don't want it to be too mechanical. Okay, I feel like we've got pretty good pass with this brush on the body anyway. I don't know that this belongs on the wings anywhere, so I think it added some nice little extra detail in some of these kind of cracks and crevices. Now I want to try to find one that'll work on some of these smoother areas. So let's go back to our brushes, and so yeah, I was finding that, oh, this is another one that's going to be more of a lazy mouse sort of thing. I kind of want almost more of like a, let's see if I go brush smaller. How does that look? Okay, that's not too bad. It's kind of a subtle little bumpiness there. Kind of makes it feel a little more skin-like. Okay. Let's see. Was it working on the... No, it's not quite right for... I was working when it was really small there. I'm not fully satisfied with it. Let's keep looking here. Oh, crazy. It's like some veins or something. I guess we didn't even think about doing some veins, right? Ooh, look at that. Whoa, that's pretty cool. I don't know that that looks, it looks a little too maybe it's erratic to be a vein, but we should think about adding some veins though. I didn't even think about that. So let's do that, but I want to get this micro texture. Ew. Oh, that's extra gross. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's nasty. Oh, it's cool though. I don't know that I think of any place that that would belong necessarily. It's a little too gnarly. I mean, maybe a few. Is it too distracting there? Actually, that's something maybe kind of cool about it. And here I go, putting more detail right here, but I don't know. Feels like I kind of like it. It kind of feels like it's emphasizing like the stretchy skin quality going on. Feels a little fleshier that way. Okay, the hunt continues for the super high frequency noise. Oh, that's weird looking. No, that's not right either. Okay. Nope, not right either. Okay, maybe. Okay, so maybe we need to do. That's what we already used. Oh, well, that's actually similar, isn't it? Wow, that's cool looking. But not right. Bumps. More weird bumps. Maybe that one on drag rect would work okay. What if I did the inverse of that? Okay, maybe not on drag rect, but maybe on spray, and we go. Um, Okay, that I think is giving me kind of what I want there. I'll smooth it out a little bit, but yeah, just a little bit of that. I don't even know if we're going to see that with the other material. We see a little bit, yeah. It's giving it just a little bit of texture, which I think helps it feel less digital. So, okay. Now, this is all on a layer, luckily, so if we need to kind of like dial this back or whatever, we can do that. Suppose we could have done some of this stuff in Substance, but I like it being on the Sculpt itself. Yeah, thanks for dropping by, dude. Hopefully, we'll catch you again soon. Have a good night. Okay, let's see. We're going to keep just cranking on these kind of skin textures here. And also by doing it in the Sculpt like this, I'm really giving myself a lot of control over how intense it is, and I can push it a little further in some areas easily. Kind of feels like I'm putting it everywhere, but I am actually kind of placing it, and I'm adjusting the intensity in different areas. I think it also kind of makes his skin look a little bit more sort of, I don't know, like tough leather or something, which I think is fitting for demon skin. tail, which I think here, just probably a little bit on these raised surfaces. I think I'll keep this inner part of the tail smooth. I think it kind of reminds me of like a lizard belly or something. So I think we'll keep that untextured. Okay. Now, let's do the wing. And okay, I don't think I like that texture on the inner part. But let's see how it is on this back part here. That's too loud, but I'm just trying to gauge if it's working or not. Let's try. Might not be right for the wing. Let me just kind of browse around here a little bit. What if we change that to a spray? What if we go really low intensity? Ooh, oh yeah, there we go. That's great. Give it a little bit of that kind of. Oh yeah, I really like that. Okay. Yep. Yep. Oh yeah, that's just the right level of sort of leatheriness for the wings, I think. Doing these sort of little tiny textures, it's it's one of those things where like before you add it, you don't really feel like it could be that big of a difference, and then when you add it, you realize, man, like how did you ever think you didn't need it, right? Like it's kind of a fidelity thing too. It just kind of brings it into a little bit more of a cinematic fidelity. It's kind of like when you're painting and you're trying to achieve realism, right? Like there's just no way you can get realism without textures. I guess you could get, I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on the style you're going for, but like oftentimes, I'll just say, oftentimes textures are helpful in achieving realism. Okay, so you can kind of see there's a little bit of like that slight kind of grain going on there. I wonder how that would look on the inside. I think if that wouldn't work. Do I like it on the inside? You know what? I kind of like it on the inside too. Maybe a little bit lighter, but I think it just adds a little bit of that variation to the surface. Prevents it from looking too plasticky. Let's isolate the wings so we can get the inner part. Okay. I'm curious if we're going to notice some of that in the. Yeah, we still see it, right? You still see just a little bit of that, skin texture going on, even with the non-cavity based shader. So that's really cool. Right, let's save this boy. Gonna have to minimize and come back to it. There we go. All right, so veins. I think we just go with the standard brush for this. Go back to the body. Okay, let's go small with this here. Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. I wonder if I should maybe be looking at some reference for, like, I want to look at, like, maybe like a comic book character for, that's a movie. Let's move this over to the other screen and let's look up like Incredible Hulk, maybe. Let's see. I want to just get some character that's very veiny. Well, that's definitely. The right character, I think. Maybe let's just do bodybuilder veins, because I mean that's what it's basically based on, right? Oh Jesus, yeah, okay. So obviously there's going to be extreme versions, but yeah, I think I'd rather see too many veins than not enough, and then I can just selectively, you know, put some in. Let me move this over here, minimize this. I'm trying to rearrange my windows here. Okay, so this is the. Let's zoom in. So there's the crazy dude that I'm going to be looking at on the other screen for some ideas on vein placement here. Whoops, not that. Oh no, I lost it. Where'd it go? My monitor situation is a mess. Okay, anyway, so you've seen the picture. Just know that that's over on my left monitor. And that's the dude I'm looking at for some vein reference. Because, yeah, there's plenty of ideas there. So maybe actually, let's do. I'm gonna like move that vein on the bicep there to maybe here, and let's go smaller but more intense. Smaller, more intense. Let's see how that reads. Maybe we could go a little bit bigger. Let's see. I guess I can zoom out and I can just kind of see how it's vibing. Yeah. Does it line up? I mean, obviously, we want to kind of like try to find a way that they all kind of connect a little logically here. Maybe I kind of continue that up through here like this. Okay. Now I don't really have a good view of like his inner arm here, so we're gonna maybe kind of like have to wing it a little bit here, but maybe I will put a vein kind of down here. Whoa, that's a crazy material. It's kind of fun to switch around. Sorry for the the flashbang there. I'm kind of seeing how this looks in a few different materials here. Creepy, creepy pink material there. Okay, I think we'll stick with the red because I think it's giving me a good sense of what we'll see for these veins. Like maybe we'll put one here. What I don't have is bodybuilder leg veins, so I think we can make some up here. I think I've got a pretty good sense of it now. Okay, I think that's pretty good pass for veins on the body. And now the question is, do we do veins on the wings? Would that look cool or would that look too... I think it's too busy. And I could check on this backside. No, I think I like the veins in the wings being kind of thin and not big enough to have depth, to not have actual relief to them. So I think we'll keep it to just the body there. Okay, I think the rest of the detailing we can probably just do in the texturing pass. I'll close that reference image there. Okay, is there anything else that I wanted to do? I think that might be the completed sculpt, guys. I think we might be ready to move to the next phase here on this guy. Which will be in the next stream, because that's going to be taking us into substance and baking out the normal maps, and then starting to do all that stuff. But that'll be an important critical step before we can, stick it in Unreal or whatever. And I'm still, I was looking around for a person who could rig this up for me, and thought I had somebody, and then they ran out of time, and so still looking for somebody for that. I'm gonna try to find somebody that is has a lot of experience in that department, because like to see this thing, rigged in a high quality sort of way. Not really interested in experimentation here on that front. I just want it to be done correctly. So we'll see how that goes. But we could get quite far with this, of course, and not really need to have it rigged at all. That's kind of a stretch goal, but it is something that I'm thinking about having done. But no matter what, we're definitely going to be texturing this guy up with colors and materials and whatnot. And I'm not really sure about the specifics of it yet. I think we have a good sense of some of the colors from the illustration, but the illustration is not, as fully realized as what we're trying to do here. So there's going to have to be some guesswork and some interpretation that we're going to do to figure out how these materials are supposed to feel. Is he supposed to feel oily? Is he supposed to feel slimy? Is he supposed to feel... Yeah, we just don't know. Are there different materials? Is it like, bony and dry in some areas, and then other areas it's like, gross and like bloody or something? Those are things that... Oops. ZBrush screensaver. Those are things that I just don't know the answer to yet, but we won't really be able to figure that out until we're actually in Substance and we're actually doing that work and seeing how it's reacting. But yeah, it's nice to put a pin in the sculpt, and I'm excited to get into the next phase with this. So I think with that, guys, we'll wrap it up. But thanks for joining me, everybody that stopped by and said hello. Thanks so much. Always appreciate it. And then hopefully we'll see you guys again next week. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.